pediatric world is one of the new frontiers that we're really entering in and trying to take a lot of the philosophies from the high-end chair marketplace and really enhance these little kiddos' lives.
I became paralyzed when I was 14 years old, so I was still technically growing at the time. And so that's hard too, because wheelchairs are expensive, and you want to get something that obviously kind of almost fits you like a glove, but then if you're growing, maybe you can try to get some of those features so you know you can adjust certain things on the chair, so when you do grow, you can still adjust them and they'll still, you know, fit you. But that's something you should talk to your therapist and whoever's fitting you for your chair about, and take that into consideration.
You want to have close to 5 years of growth, and after that 5 years, I would say 5 years in a single chair, I think you probably outdated the technology and the growth of that, so you probably want to get into something else, and there's probably something better at that point.
Within the zippy zone, we built in 3 inches of additional depth growth with every depth you choose. So example, if you ordered a 12 deep, this chair would grow 13, 14, and 15. Okay, and our sling, we actually designed so that it could be unfolded to give you 2 inches. That was never available before, and again, the voice of the customer, going out to clinicians and dealers and saying, what do the children need? What do you need in this type of product? And they were like, you know, a lot of times when we start the funding process and we start going down that path to order a chair, by the time the chair comes in, the child could have grown a ½ an inch to an inch.
So the cool thing about this chair is I can start it as narrow as 10 inches wide, which is real tiny, and we don't really like to see it, but the fact of the matter is they're going to be needing a size like that, they're going to need to be pushing. So we got to take into consideration, even at that small size, proper adjustment, proper fitting, and proper propulsion is going to need to come into play for it. So again, we basically will offer highly adjustable frame as far as your front seat height, also able to do your rear seat height to basically create that bucket, that level of stability for the little junior that's going to be using it. Now, depth adjustability, as we talked about on the adult chair, will accommodate a lot of the hardbacks. Well, depth adjustability in the actual pediatric end of it is just a necessity because their bodies are so tiny that we basically need to bring the backrest sometimes as shallow as 9 inches just to accommodate little Junior or little Susie.
This is the new J-Zip back, which is the first pediatric back that goes all the way down to 8 inches wide. This chair is available from 8 inches wide up to 16 inches wide, 8 inches deep, all the way to 18 inches deep. So a large range, and a lot, you know, I would say you think of 8 inches of this small space, and there's a lot of kids because you've given them growth so they can grow the chair, and the more fitted this chair is with better access to the wheels, the more independent they can be.
It's all about the fit, and it's all about the balance of the product, and for kids it's really important.
Taking the pediatric market, I mean the kids, you know, we put them in these chairs that ultimately look like just institutional contraptions. You know, by the time we bolted things on and just make it look so overkill, we have a tendency to try to dress it up with a cartoon character or maybe that person's favorite sport team or something like that. So now, you know, it's an extension of them, you know, and it's a compliment when your friend now wants to get into that wheelchair and play with it while you're out of it, you know, because he's looking at it saying, okay, you know, somebody doesn't look sick in that chair. They look cool. Their chair looks absolutely cool.
With pediatrics, weight is even more critical. If you want to get some flashy hubs and things like that, you really want to acknowledge the amount of weight you're adding every time you add a side guard, stroller handles, mag wheels. Airless inserts can add up to like 5 pounds to put in an airless insert in a tire. So that, again, when you talk about a small child and trying to give them access to their environment, that adds a lot of weight to a chair, and it can make the difference of independence all day or part of the day.
I like to incorporate a little more camber. And cambering is basically the angling of the rear wheels. And what the camber does for the wheelchair, as more angle goes into it, it creates more stability. But also, it makes the chair much more agile and a lot lighter to push. So as the kids are basically learning how to use their wheelchair, as they're building their upper body strength. Having an ease of turn and ease of push is basically going to help the little ones last from point A to point B throughout the day. My favorite thing that we can probably offer the kids is now the flip back footrest. This flip back footrest will now flip back and up and out of the way, which now will allow a child to basically either crawl up into the chair, hop out of the chair by doing a pivot transfer into a walker, depending on what the diagnosis is. It just basically opens up that front end and lets them plant their feet down right underneath them to get them a better sense of balance if they're going to be stepping up and out of the chair.
You want reliability on all chairs and durability. You need to be able to transport chairs. And it's very important, especially with kids going to school, that you have those types of features, that you have a transit option that could be tied down in a bus.
If you're not fit properly, you can do a lot of harm. It's just really working with the team, you know, your clinician and your dealer and your manufacturer to try to figure out what the best solution for that little kiddo is.
Brought to you by the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation and Gold Pictures.